Hello and welcome to the Overland Journal podcast. I'm your host, Matt Scott, and I'm here with my new co-host, Sinway Xavier.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, so today we're talking about the importance of American innovation in the overland industry. We have Graeme MacPherson and Matt Linder here. Graeme is with Go Fast Campers. Matt is with Truckhouse. And Sinway is a world-renowned photographer.
That's a fact.
Yeah, big time.
Well, thank you. I feel like I've got more going for me than just shooting photos, but I'm glad.
Not much.
Valid. But here I am. Maybe podcast hosting's my next chapter.
You're coming for me. So, we were all just kind of chatting on really just the importance of America remaining this innovator in this space. Like, it's been fun to see this industry grow. Like, when I started in it at a young age, America didn't really have anything that was, I'm going to say, like, really of note. Like, we've always had like suspension. We've always been pretty good with lighting because of like the desert racing industries that were really popular here. There's a lot of money in that. But historically, like, all of the cool stuff has come from overseas. Like, think like early OJ days. Like, it was all about like that. The Defender you couldn't get, the Land Cruiser you couldn't get, the Camper you couldn't get, the Unimog you couldn't get. But now, like, we have the cool stuff. Like, we have the good stuff. Like, and it's just cool to see like America is now innovating in this stuff. And I'm so glad to have you guys on the podcast because I think Go Fast and Truckhouse have so many shared ideals, right? Like, there's all of these different types of products on the market, but I think what stands out with you guys is that you like to position your brands for people to actually use the stuff, right? Like, it's not overdone. It's really high quality, but it's really like considered, right?
Yeah, intentional.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that one thing that I've known Graeme for a long time, and Matt and I are new friends, but they actually use it. They're not just guys that are looking at a spreadsheet going, oh, we can make margin on this product that we create or import or whatever. It's this, they use the product and they are constantly trying to innovate and make it better for their own use.
Yeah. But you have to do that stuff, right? Like, if you're not actively using the product and actively developing the product, you're just stagnant. Like, I think it's cool. Like, is this the third version? Because you've had V1, V2, and V2 Pro of the Go Fast Camper.
Kind of the third iteration of product, like at a major categorical level. But because we've always manufactured in-house, there's been so many little tweaks to that product throughout each generation internally, right?
Yeah.
So you have like V1 started out as a chromoly steel space frame tube, and then that switched to aluminum with the V2, and then now all the new trim level stuff with the Pro. And just each era has 10 or 20 iterations where there's little tweaks and differences as it evolved, pretty much entirely as a function of community feedback and internal needs.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's fascinating because I think with Go Fast, they all kind of look the same, but they're all a little different when you get in kind of closer on the details, right?
yep. Yeah, especially when it's all closed up. The goal is just to have something really simple, minimalist. I grew up doing a lot of dirt bike travel and bicycle travel, so used to not carrying everything with me. And the ability to have more fun by carrying less stuff is huge. I think Sinway shares that.
Oh yeah, completely. For me, I'm new to the Go Fast. Maybe, let's see, I picked it up in December.
Oh yeah, I forgot you actually have one of those.
Yeah,
this
new
totally
thing.
sounds like an ad now that I brought you on.
But it really, like, the lightweight makes such a huge difference.
Yeah.
And I think that we're in this kind of renaissance in this space where people are realizing, like you had with backpacking, people with backpacking was like, oh, we can make these big packs because we can stuff everything in it and be more comfortable. But now we're in this renaissance where it's like, we need to make it lighter so you can go farther. You're not wearing your truck out so much. Your bushings don't need to be replaced. And for me to lose the weight that I did with my previous setup, which was a rack and a rooftop tent and a drawer system, now I have, a goose gear system and the Go Fast. I lost close to 250 pounds.
You look so much better, man. It's nice to see you in those clothes.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
The Slim Fast diet does work.
It does completely. Yeah. So it's, you know, that innovation that's happening of making things lighter, more usable, you know, I think it's really important, you know. And one of the things that I really love about both the Truckhouse and the Go Fast is it's clean. They're just clean lines. There's not a bunch of freaking stuff all over it, you know, and it's just they're clean, you know, and they work.
And to your point earlier, Sinway, kind of like spreadsheet engineering or product design, right? Like, hey, if we believe that the total addressable market is this much and we can get 35% of it if we offer these features, therefore this is the product we're going to make. Like, that's what pretty much every major company and a lot of folks that are making stuff overseas look at. And when you look at like American manufacturing, especially like what Matt does with Truckhouse, and what we do at Go Fast, being able to kind of take and distill that way down and say, hey, this is what you actually need. You can provide really good value. And I'm not going to say any of our products are cheap. I think Go Fast are expensive, but they're worth it, right? That's the big difference is like, there's the difference between being like expensive and not worth it. It's not like a luxury good because you're getting good value for money. And I think that's really where like the American manufacturing has to live. And the more passionate you can be around the product and the more curated you can be around that product, the more value you can deliver for your customer.
Yeah, and I second that on the passion. You know, Truckhouse for me was never a get rich quick scheme. It was something I was really passionate about, the product, the experience it enabled you to have. And you know, the first time I met Graeme was at an Overland Expo. We drove in our Toyota product, and Graeme climbed right underneath it. Clem came out and said, "You did it right." And we've been friends ever since. And I would say I've really been inspired by his, you know, passion for American manufacturing. Graeme and I talk, you know, once a month, once every 2 months, just making sure that we're kind of, you know, on the same page of creating jobs, creating lifestyles, and then producing a product that creates experiences for our customers, the experiences that we, you know, we want to have and share.
Graham was like your biggest cheerleader for the longest time. And I was like,
Not anymore though.
I was like,
Yeah, what happened, dude?
remember all of the conversation. Graham and I would have conversations like, man, that Truckhouse thing looks so cool, but it's on a Tacoma, and I hate Tacomas. And he's like, yeah, but they're really nice. Like, did you look at them? Like, no, it was on a Tacoma. It's like, you need to look at it. Like, it's really good.
They actually did it right. They did all the work. And the biggest reason to switch was just because you were doing so much work, it wasn't worth it on that platform.
Exactly.
But I'm still convinced that platform.
Yeah, you want one. You like,
Oh, bro.
you quite specifically, if somebody has one of the Tacoma truck houses.
Yeah, if anybody's listening, they should buy the Ram. But if anybody's trying to sell their Toyota one, sell it to me because those things are sick.
Yeah, no, they are sick. And it's, you know, like to Graham's point about being able to innovate during a production is really key, especially for a new company. You know, we're not perfect, but being able to have all of our core competencies be in-house and own the composites and own the design, it enables us to iterate on the fly to produce an easier to build product, a better product for the customer, a more reliable product, something that if we outsourced all of our manufacturing, myself or Graeme, that's way harder to do. You need to be in design lock and have someone else build your parts if you want to do it that way. And design lock on a product as complex as a Go Fast or a Truckhouse is really hard to achieve. And if you think you achieve it and stop trying to innovate, the product suffers from it. You need to be conscious that there's always improvements to be made. And some of those improvements you won't know until you build enough products.
Yeah.
So once those products are on the ground or on trucks, you start to realize, wow, I could make this better by doing A, B, C, and D. And you're not,
and even your fundamental concept is better, right? Like, you know, there's a full podcast that Matt and I did with Scott and Dave from AEV on just like what makes the weight, size, tire choice, everything about the Truckhouse. Totally listen to that, but
And that's linked in the description, right?
yeah,
Link
sure.
in the bio.
Link in bio. But you know, we talk about this concept of like America finally being the innovator in this space. You know, forever in the expedition vehicle thing, it was all in Europe. Like that's where the game really was.
South
right?
Africa, yeah. Like
Yeah.
Howling Moon, Hannibal awnings, like back in the day.
Yeah, but in the expedition and in Matt's space for
Oh, yeah,
Truckhouse,
absolutely.
like we're going from boxes in Europe, right? And they had some innovations that we didn't have here, you know, like core construction, more insulation, whatever. Like they are very durable. They have these cab over trucks to where it works for them too. But you're talking like high pressure aerofoils in the front for stability, and you're talking aerodynamics, and you're talking carbon fiber monocoque and CNC, you know, cut foam panels for your insulation and structural rigidity. Like it's it's so cool to see that happening. I mean, it's like supercar for campers. But it's so cool to see it happening here, and it's cool, to see it happening kind of with this next generation in the space. Like we're not that old, like, so it's cool to see it happening. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just rad.
No, it is. And I think, at least for us, and I know Graeme enough to know that he's the same way. It's all about the people and the team. We would be nowhere without our guys.
Absolutely.
We couldn't build anything without our guys. It's about creating jobs that hopefully turn into careers that enable people to raise families and do their own type of travel. So,
And that's another big thing that you guys are both huge on, is like you could pay your people less. Like, I know that's something Go Fast is huge on. Like, you guys are in Bozeman.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think like what's funny too, though, is like we could pay our people less, but we wouldn't get what we get out of them if we did,
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of people in the States kind of fall into this fallacy of like, oh, well, I got to bring my pay down in order to be competitive with Asia because I need my cogs to be minimalized in production. But you don't realize that you can get more output if you pay
Yeah.
a living wage. So Bozeman is a very expensive market to be in, but we employ a lot of like automation, and then pretty much everything that we do is design around manufacturability. And that's a topic that I could go on for hours about.
Yeah, we've chatted about that a bunch.
Yeah, but basically being able to and like fundamentally what that means is like if you design something to be made in the States, or if you want something to be made in the States, that's to be designed to be made in the States. Because what we've done in this country for so long is make some napkin sketches of like a backpack and then send it over to Vietnam and say, hey guys, can you figure this out? And they are so smart and so industrious and they figure it out. But like the way that that's done is by paying really, really low market labor in order to accomplish this really complicated work. And if you want to make something here, you just don't have the luxury of having free labor, right? Or cheap labor.
you don't have the luxury of doing just a napkin sketch either. You have to actually figure it all the way out. You have to figure it out to be manufactured.
Totally.
You can't just sketch it and hand it off and say,
Yep.
can you build this?
And kind of the upside to it, in my mind, is that by doing things in the States in-house, especially at the beginning of phases of a business, you can figure out what it is you're trying to accomplish and you can innovate and you can actually try something. Because if we just called up the CM for every other tent company in Asia that like makes for 80% of the brands here at Overland Expo, because there really are only 2 or 3 little shops.
I've been in like 2 of those shops. Like, it's crazy. Like diametrically opposed brands
Yep.
have the same supply chain.
Totally.
Like how the roof tent thing works, if people don't know, is that there's 2-3 companies that make most of these.
Yep.
You get to choose your grams per square meter of your canvas. Like, if you want to go cheap, it's
And
fewer grams per square meter. You get to choose your piping color, your stitching color. They have a predetermined place for your branding, right?
Yep.
And sometimes they will have designs that if you do a certain minimum, you'll get like market exclusivity on, right?
Yep. But when you're first starting out and you have like low MOQs, right? Because you're
Yeah.
a passion-oriented business, like they're not going to really care about helping you figure it out because all they want is volume.
But they're not most of the people in this space, like particularly now with like campers coming out of China that are kind of copying you, and roof tents are just this best example. That company did not design that product. Like, that product is fully designed overseas. That is their design.
yeah.
That is someone else's design that is being white labeled, and it's crazy. Like, you're not actually. I mean, it kind of bothers me.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think there's a lot of people that would like to have the ability to design products overseas,
Yeah.
but they don't have the ability to. So what's neat about making stuff in the States is you get the ability to actually innovate and try something, because that's why, like, when you see innovation from overseas products, it's usually from a brand that's like the size of like a Yeti. It's like a big company that has the capital to tool up for that, to take on that risk, to develop those factories. Maybe they own the factories in Asia that do it. But like, if you want to make something in the States, I mean, I remember when I first met Matt, we'd be going to a trade show and it'd be Sunday afternoon. He's like, yeah, I'll be back at work at Monday at 8 a.m. because he's just physically going out and building the product that he's showing and iterating on it and constantly working on it. And I think that there's a lot of sweat equity that people don't realize. And then when they go buy the derivative product from Asia, it's like, yeah, if you only buy the Asian product, then the American product that's actually creating the Asian product like innovating to create that market,
Yeah.
like they'll stop innovating and then they'll stop existing, and then you'll end up with like some derivative of a derivative of a derivative, and you'll have like nothing good. But that said, it's the ownership is still on the American brands to create value to where it's still worth buying American made.
Yeah, that's one of the things that when we have like our business chats, I never hear Graeme talk about raising prices. I hear Graeme talk about trying to get the prices lower.
Yep.
And I think that that's like always something like super fascinating in our conversations. Because with the other people I talk in the industry, it's how do I make more money? How do I make more money? How do I expand? How do I grow this? How do I make this nicer? How do I put Swarovski toilet crystals in the toilet seat or whatever, right? Where you talk about, you know, and the stuff we've been working on together, like
Yep.
how can we get it lower so we can have more people afford it, so
Yep.
more people can buy it?
Yeah, I mean that's the key, is like the way you can make the most money possible organizationally is providing the most value for your customer possible, right?
Yeah.
And there's definitely value in wearing a hat, right? Like if you showed up to this round table here with an RTIC cooler hat, I'd be like, and you didn't have a Yeti hat on, I'd be like, oh, I don't know about that guy.
Yeah.
So like there's more value than just the product. There's value in being associated with something.
Mhm.
But like at the end of the day, if you can match that brand value with that product value, you have something really special.
Mhm.
And I think that a lot of people get complacent and say, oh, I can just keep raising prices and keep going up. And they don't realize they can go down market potentially to get better volume and better reach and better growth long term. And like the way that I see it, like that's what creates like real American businesses. Because if you're making like a couple of something in your garage, that's cool. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But that's not like going to bring back domestic manufacturing infrastructure, right? Like, go to Foxconn, like compare yourself to the biggest operations in the world, and that's now what you're competing against. And the ability to automate products, like, I mean, Matt, you've seen in the last 5-10 years the tooling cost for automation, CNC machines, laser press brake, all that stuff. It's like gone from being completely unattainable to being really, really reasonable. And the ability for us to automate a lot of our manufacturing processes and use that to basically subsidize our employee labor, so we can still pay 25 to 30 bucks an hour for like base shop labor.
Yep.
That's
Same thing.
That's huge. Like
And-
that's like a really livable wage too.
And
Yeah.
it's amazing to, you know, robots are great. We're all for them too. We have CNC machines in our shop, and what they do, the accuracy, the repetitiveness, it's something that it can't be replaced by a human at our wage, but we can hire better people, better craftsmen to do a more enjoyable job. And they feel fulfilled, and they're a bigger part of the team and more passionate about what they do, instead of being like, hey, can you shape foam for the rest of your life? It's like, no, CNC machine cuts that. We need you to be a craftsman.
Yep.
And that's something that, you know, provides value to themselves. They become better at it. They feel fulfilled when they go home. They're not just doing some repetitive, you know, meaningless job. It's like, use the robots where you can, and then boost the people up to fill the roles where it takes a human, which a lot of the roles take really, you know, skilled humans.
And I haven't been at the GFC manufacturing, but I've been at Truckhouse, and knowing you, Graeme, I feel like you empower your employees. Like if they can do something better, you give them that power. I know you do at Truckhouse, and it just feels like, you know, it's there, and you see it really in, you know, like the evolution from the Toyota to the Ram. You know, you see that evolution where you guys were, you weren't complacent with, you know, this design works. You really, even now, from the prototype that I've been fortunate enough to drive around in to what's actually going into production, there's this evolution to make it better. And with the GFC, the same thing. From, you know, my biggest thing was the pistons on the outside, because I'm a terrible driver and I hit things constantly.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, that's such a weak point. But you guys brought them inside.
Yep.
And now it's just this solid thing.
And to be fair, we've never had any failures of the external pistons.
Which,
ever.
yeah, I believe it. Yeah.
But yeah, it also looks really nice to have it just to be all
It's just clean. It's super clean.
absolutely.
And I'm sure there's a million other things with the new V2 Pro that like were these little teeny things that we may not even as a consumer know about.
For sure.
You know, and it comes from that culture of the empowering your employees to do the best they can.
Constant improvement.
Exactly.
Every day at Truckhouse is a school day. We're learning. We don't have an ego. We want to be better. We want to be better humans. We want to build a better product. That is a double-edged sword. If you want to improve constantly, it is hard to manufacture. So as a perfectionist, I'm always chasing it, but it is hard to attain. And at some point you do have to ship a product. And that's something that I struggle with myself, is I'm always trying to make stuff better. And,
But at some point you have to say go.
Yep.
Yeah, and better for Matt is like unattainable for anyone else. So like,
Well, I don't know about that, but
it's like there's like a 3 micrometer bubble in this carbon fiber layup on my ladder, and you're like, oh, I didn't even notice. And Matt's like, that's a huge problem for me.
The first day I met Matt, he was apologizing about the paint on the silver one. He's like, oh, this drives me crazy. And I'm like, I've seen a lot
of little print through, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of very nice cars in my life, and I was just kind of going, okay.
Yeah,
looks pretty good. Sure. A big old huge sheet of silver that's 10 feet tall.
It's the only camper shell that can actually be painted, because everything else is Line-X because the molds are so bad.
Yeah. No, that's for sure.
Dirty little secret on that as to why.
Yeah, it only adds like 800 pounds, but like the Line-X, but it really makes any imperfection go away.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
I think like the Line-X in the bottom's great. Like I have that on mine. But Line-Xing the whole thing, I'm like, man, like it's like I'm gonna be in that movie Twister or something. Like I'm
Which
gonna
is
be
kind of
chasing.
bitching if that's what you want.
Yeah, I guess if you are specifically
we're close to the apocalypse, we're not quite there yet.
in my podcast yesterday with Mike Pfeiffer from Last Line of Defense, I realized I'm kind of a prepper.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Do you have like a little gun port out of your bed area?
I mean, that's a great idea. See, you should innovate and put that in the Truckhouse.
If you buy a Truckhouse, it's not a problem.
Be the first expedition vehicle with a gun port.
As we're sitting in your Earthrummer, man. If you buy a Truckhouse, we can put a gun on the roof. No problem.
Did you guys see that trailer a couple of years ago that was here at Expedition Portal or at Overland Expo? That was a fully contained teardrop, and you could go inside and press a button, and it would spray bear spray all around the whole perimeter of it.
It's here.
Is it here still?
Yeah.
Oh, that thing is so bitchin'.
Yeah.
I think something Graeme said earlier that really resonated with me was the sweat equity part. It's like I've followed Earthrummer since they were a photography and journalism company.
Yeah.
Like when Bill built the Ram. I mean, I was probably 12 years old. I've always wanted one. And if I could have sketched it on a napkin and had someone else build it, Truckhouse would not be a very valuable company. Like we have so much IP in manufacturing such a big, unique, beautiful carbon fiber part that we have, grown so much value as a brand and a company. We could build anything. We choose to build expedition vehicles because we love it. But by just outsourcing all of that hard fought manufacturing and design and problems, we've solved so many problems internally.
Yep.
Now we own that knowledge. And that's going to make our next version better. That's why the Ram is so much better than the Toyota. Wait for V3 Truckhouse. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely mind-blowing.
And to that point, I mean, most people don't think that bringing back American manufacturing is about that institutional knowledge, but that's actually all it's about.
Yep.
Because you could mimic any factory anywhere in the world, but if you don't know how to run it, because like a factory is not turn the machine on and it works. The factory is turn the machine on and constantly fix everything all of the time and figure out why the thing that did the thing yesterday isn't doing the thing today is different than how it did that yesterday, right?
Yep.
And it's like the institutional knowledge is the biggest problem that we're missing right now to bring back domestic manufacturing. So bringing back that infrastructure for composites, because you're going to have employees that come work for you for a while and they're like, oh, dude, I can do this for the turbine industry, and then go do that. And
I hope they do.
100%.
I hope they do.
Exactly.
I will help them.
Yep.
If they leave and they're like, hey man, I have a carbon product I want to go build.
Absolutely.
I want to build a carbon Yeti cooler. I'm like, I'm your biggest resource. Like
100%.
I wouldn't be like, oh no, you can't leave Truckhouse. I'd be like, go do it.
Yep.
Like they're living the same dream.
Hey,
I'm
Graeme,
trying
you're
to-
such a great example of that. You've had so many Go Fast employees that have started their own businesses.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
we try to support them too. So I'm wearing one of our old employees' hats right now. Yeah.
Let's give a big shout out to Taylor.
100%.
Roly-poly coffee in Bozeman here.
He's such a
Bozeman,
legend.
Arizona.
He's such a
Bozeman,
legend.
Montana.
I mean, Taylor Wallace is just
The best dude.
The best guy. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm lucky to call him a friend.
I know I'm not a host, but I'll pose a question to the group. How do we deal with labor-intensive jobs being less desirable as they used to be for people of our age? You know, a lot of my friends, you know, have desk jobs. They want to work in tech. You know, do we see, I mean, I've seen there's less craftsmen of our age than there used to be. You know, there's lots of people retiring and not passing down that, you know, tribal knowledge to younger people because there's less young people entering the trades.
We're all roughly the same age. And the thing is that at least in my school system, it was like if you went in, you were never taught to go into the trades. It was never discussed, right? You were a doctor, lawyer, you know, you're shooting for the moon, and the kids that f***ed up went into the trades. That was like I don't know how else to say it, but that's just like that's the way it was, right?
And meanwhile, they're making more money than
100%, dude. Like, do you know how many like people I know that have like a degree in like communications that like I grew up with that are like, you know, they're making like 1/3 of what my contractor friends are making.
Oh yeah.
Like, so if it's about money, like you can make so much money with your hands, right?
One of my first assistants in photography he was on the track to become this great celebrity photographer. And he just got so tired of the mess that's going on in there. He's a welder in Marfa, Texas now. His life looks amazing. You know, he's like, I go to work for 8 hours a day. When I'm done, I don't worry about it. I don't get an email in the middle of the night looking for stuff. It's, you know, and he has a great, you know, outlook on that. It's like, I wish when I was younger that it was promoted.
Yeah,
to go into the trades.
I mean, do you guys agree? Like, I mean, I don't know if it's different schools or whatever. Like, I'm from the Midwest. You know, it was like, you're going to become a knowledge worker. That is what you are going to do.
Yep. Oh, 100%. And then the problem is like you created all these knowledge workers and then there's no tradespeople. So now, like when you get electrical work done, you get a new bathroom fan in your house. It's like the bill's like $1,200. And you're like, wait, what? Like, how did that happen? Yeah. And the electrician's like, hell yeah.
He has some knowledge that, you know, there's no one coming up to get that knowledge from him to learn. You know, like we do a lot of body and paint. The body shop industry, all body men are old. Yeah. No one wants to go do body work. It's hard work. You can make great money at it. But like, you know, that's problems we deal with is we want young, hungry guys.
We just need like Jeremy Clarkson to do some kind of like manufacturing job series instead of farming. Because now I want to be a farmer.
I think that could be your thing, Matt.
Because I'm such a...
You could do... You're the Arizona Jeremy Clarkson.
Sure. Sure. We both do drink copious amounts of pink wine.
Yeah.
That's where the similarities stop.
Brose.
But really, I mean, I think like Mike Rowe is a really good good advocate for this stuff, right? I mean, he's got his, you know, the micro charity, which I think is always worth mentioning in his association. But I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, I mean, to anyone listening, one of the coolest things that's ever happened in my entire life is to dream something and then hold it in my hands. And that takes a lot of knowledge, skill, labor. And I think that needs to be, you know, broadcast as a fulfilling lifestyle, is to create something. You don't have to sit on a computer. You don't have to crunch numbers. You don't have to build spreadsheets. You can actually dream it, build it, feel it, use it. And it's so fulfilling. It, you know, like I remember the first time my dad saw the first Toyota camper. My dad's got a boatyard in Sausalito. He's a craftsman himself. He came in and saw it and said, "Holy shit, you built it from the air." And I think that was like one of the most proud I've ever seen him of me.
That's so cool.
It came from air. It came from my brain.
Yeah.
Went to the computer, and then we built it. And now I get to share that with my team. And I hire guys who all they have to do is have attention to detail, good work ethic, and are good people. And we'll teach them whatever they want to know. I've got guys who we've taught how to do CAD, that 3D print things now, that can run CNC machines, that, you know, they have become such more valuable human beings because they can dream it and build it.
And that's exactly the key, right? Is it's on the employer's responsibility to make those jobs appealing. And it's also the employer's responsibility to make those jobs add enough value to be able to compensate them well. Yep. Because anybody can have like somebody sitting there with a drag knife, like physically cutting fabric out, but like that job sucks. Like you could argue that like the monotonous repetitive labor is arguably like unethical, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, robotics are end of the world, automation is going to take all of our jobs. And it's like, well, yeah, like look at like an ATM, right? So would you like, do you want to be a bank teller if all you're doing is giving people like $20 all day, like a $20 transaction, a $40 transaction? Would you rather do like high value relationship based transactions, things that humans are actually good at? And like when you elevate your team out of that direct manual labor, you're creating those jobs that are really appealing. And then what we're really working on right now is basically positioning our really like incredibly skilled laborers. Like I'm thinking of like some of our folks at the shop that have been with us for a long time that are incredibly effective. It's like, let's put those people in the highest regard, and let's get the junior intern level people in there, like looking up to that person to be like, hey, I want to get there, you know, and compensate accordingly.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I make sure at our shop, you know, we hire a guy to be a general shop tech. I let him know, hey man, anything we do here that you want to learn, ask me.
Yeah, it's like a apprenticeship.
I will stay 30 minutes after work any day of any week. You want to learn how to TIG weld? I'll teach you. You want to learn how to model something in CAD and 3D print it? I'll teach you. You want to learn how to spray paint? I'll teach you.
Well, I'm going to Reno.
Yeah, that's just
It's great. I'll teach you. And then like, not only does it make them more valuable, makes people want to be more like them, but then they have the ability to be more influential in our design and our changes because they're more well-rounded, knowledgeable craftsmen.
And here's something really interesting by you saying that. There's a real value in being able to teach someone else. And I think that's really important to people to have, to get that knowledge to where, hey, I can, whether it's, you know, a colleague or your son, your daughter, you know, to be able to pass something on that's important, you know?
Yeah,
Totally.
and I think it has to be egoless. You know, it's like we need the team. Truckhouse needs the team. Go Fast needs the team. I can single-handedly build a camper at Truckhouse from start to finish. I can do one a year. That's not a business. That's, you know, my guys are Truckhouse. That's what's important. And, you know, getting more of them that, you know, drink the Kool-Aid, for lack of a better description, is really important, and making sure they're fulfilled and have room to grow and learn. And I think learning is contagious. You show up and you learn something new every day or once a week. It's like, for me, I want to keep going there. I want to get smarter. I want to get better. Constant improvement. It's fun. That's the fun part of it.
And we've gotten to the point now where I'm aware of everything that happens at the company, but I don't know how to do everything that happens at the company. And like when you walk in and you see like one of your teammates has like done something incredible, it's like, holy shit, like we can do that here. And it's like, you know what I mean? It's really cool. Whether it's like Ian, who's doing insane mechanism design for us right now, and like you come in every day and you're like, this is like delightful. Like how cool is this? Or, and then we've got a gal in fabric right now, Betty Ann, who's like, she stays late at night and sews her own clothes for fun. And she's kind of starting a side hustle making clothes for her friends. Yep. And it's like, it's just rad. You know what I mean? So we're definitely here for that.
Yeah. And it's, you know, I kind of picture it as a championship sports team. You're a really bad coach if you don't hire the best people. And I want to hire or train people to be better at what they do than I am. Just like Graham's saying, Graham's been around a little bit longer than us. We haven't quite got there, but I can't wait to be there when, you know, everybody knows more than me. And I am like, wow, that's the goal. I don't want to hamstring or hold anybody back. I want people to improve and teach me how to get better.
Totally. Yeah. Like I can't take any credit for what GFC is doing nowadays, because it's like, it's the team. Like I'm just a team member.
Yep. Yeah. So. That's a good mentality to have.
Yeah.
You're the big toe.
That's kind of stubbed sometimes.
It happens for sure. For sure. And what I love about the contagiousness of American manufacturing is what I've learned is once the consumer buys into like, oh, it is important to buy from my neighbor. You know, if I can get my eggs from the guy from down the street, and I can buy my clothes from the guy in the state next to me, you know, like I've been a very strong advocate for American made products across the board as much as I can. I mean, my glasses, everything I'm wearing.
Yep.
Because growing up, my mom always said, if your neighbor does well, you do well, you know, and growing up in Bozeman, you know, that's the way it was.
Yep.
You know,
Absolutely.
We just everybody took care of each other. And I feel like we've gotten to this place, especially in this industry where, you know, when this started, we were at the first Overland Expo, we were at the Prescott Fairgrounds with 20 trucks, you know, and we all knew each other. We all supported each other. And we've gotten to this place where now it's not that anymore. And there's the few core that still in that ecosystem. But I think that we can get back to that place where it's the American, you know, almost a guild of the American manufacturers, you know, within it.
And there's a lot of people trying to claim American manufactured or made in America. A lot of stuff is assembled, and some of that stuff rubs me the wrong way. You're like, you didn't build that. Like all those parts got shipped here from overseas, and you put it together, and now you claim it's made in, you know, America. It's like,
right.
That's a
loophole.
It's a loophole. Yeah, I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way for sure.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
You know,
I go back to what Sinway was saying about where the industry came from, where the industry's heading, and kind of this guild, this group of people. And, you know, I really do believe in this world, in Overland, and I've spent my entire adult life here, right? But you also have to put the effort in to make it what you want it to be. Like, if you just decide, like, hey, you know, the rebranded Alibaba roof tent that we're using as the example, if that's going to be the new norm, like that sucks. But it's cool to like connect people and work with people that share those same values as you, right? Like, if you want this industry to not suck, don't buy products that suck. You know, it's really simple, but
And like, I get that, but I also agree that people should buy whatever gives them the most value.
yeah.
Right? So
But
like,
but to go back to your thing is like, that's what you're constantly trying to do, right? Like,
Yeah.
people are buying those products right now because everybody else has gotten so sky high. So it's cool to see you being like, hey, how can I be like an actual alternative to that product?
yeah, or better, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, international manufacturing, I mean, especially pre-tariff, has been like, they're incredibly efficient. And we look at the design, there's a lot of clever things that they do on the DFM side, the design for manufacturability side, that a lot of domestic manufacturers don't consider. And that like design for manufacturability is like pretty much the last 18 months is all I think about.
Yeah.
It's like, if you can design it to be made well, you can design ethical jobs that pay well. You can design great value for the customer. You can, and really like what it comes down to is we've been like kicking around this like slogan phrase for Go Fast of like architects of adventure. It's like, we want to be an architectural firm for you. Like, you're not going to Frank Lloyd Wright and asking him to make you like a craftsman home or a Victorian house. You're like, I'm going to buy this house. I'm going to eat this food. I'm going to listen to this music, because that person is like a leader like in that space, and it's creating a lifestyle that you want to be a part of. And I think that's what you've done a lot, Matt, with the brands that you curate. It's like, I get to become that guy, whether it's like sort of Indiana Jones, sort of James Bond. Like, there's a guy that your guy gets to be, in the same way that there's a guy that your guy gets to be, or a girl that your girl gets to be. Sorry, yeah, no, I mean, it is 2025. But, but basically, like, that ability to create this like a brand that allows the customer to buy a product to live a lifestyle is really cool, as opposed to buying a commodity. But at the end of the day, like, that overlap between like value and brand and product, like, those things are all so important.
Yeah.
And I think that your point earlier about kind of like thoughtful design and like things that are like really well curated, as opposed to just like a spec sheet of like, if I'm cross shopping these two products, this one has more stuff, therefore I will buy it. You know what I mean?
And I think that's where, you know, you said it's important for people to get what provides them the most value. I think when they make that purchase, some of that information isn't accurate. I think they might think that they're getting a better value because the spec sheet or the price, but in reality, the longevity of the product, the brand, the support, the customer service,
Totally.
how it's going to use, how it's going to weather, how it dries, how it drives, whatever the product is. I think a lot of people, there's some misconceptions of what that value you're going to get when you buy it.
Yeah.
And you don't know until it's too late.
And like, the best way to look at that is to look at the resale price in the market. Like, we make a lot of go fast campers, and my team crushes it, and the quality is really good. And if you look at the secondary market for these things, like you can own them for 3 years and spend $1,000, when you're ready to sell it. Like it's pretty impressive. Especially if you pick a high volume platform, like people are paying the same amount of money for a new one or used one as they are for a new one.
Yeah. Our only used Tacoma we ever sold for more than it would have when it was new.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think to that point, it's like, we've talked about this forever, but I think you should raise your prices, because if you look at like,
Please don't, I want one.
I'm not saying that. But if you look at like everything else in the category, like the quality of what's going into that build, it's similar to AEV, right? Like AEV is building tooling for hot stamp boron steel skid plates, and nobody even knows what that means. But it's like that's the steel alloy that was it Volvo developed for like
Correct.
the A pillars,
Correct.
and it's like just the tooling to stamp the skid plate is like more money than a lot of these businesses' annual revenue.
Millions of dollars.
Yeah,
Millions of
and
dollars.
like being able to have access to that to give the customer that much value and still be a product that's like directly competitive with everything else in the market, it's like it's not even close.
Yeah, and you and I talk about it a lot, and I go back and forth. I would like to also provide more truck houses for people to use and
Totally.
create more experiences. So I don't want to. I know it's a very expensive product. It's a product that I personally can't afford myself currently, but I want to make sure that it's accessible enough that we move more product to create more experience. So I
100%.
go back and forth,
Yep.
and it's like I've always said, it's not a get rich quick scheme for Truckhouse. It's a passion project that's turning into a real big business here as we move into our new manufacturing facility. And I've worked 80 to 100 hours the last 5 years for my sweat equity, and I don't know. I go back and forth. I love it, but I could see it. I'd like it to be cheaper, to be honest with you. I like it to be better and cheaper, just like you.
Yep.
And
Totally.
that's a hard thing to do.
No, and kind of circle back on that idea of like passion. Like it's so important to keep passion centered in all these businesses. And I think that like a lot of what we're seeing in the evolution of this space that's kind of making us feel like the space might not be the best sometimes is all the private equity that's coming in and buying up all these companies and putting them all under these conglomerates and rebadging everything to one central brand. And that's what's so cool about domestic manufacturing is you don't need that scale to be successful. Like you can do it out of your garage, you can provide value, you can solve a problem for a customer really, really well, and focus on that niche. And then that transition from small garage build like that you're going through right now, that we're always going through, to like more scaled manufacturing, that's really hard. But like being able to keep the passion through that and not sell out and then not become another spec sheet sales brand that's just basically diluting your brand reputation that you've built over those 80-hour work weeks for the past 4 years, 5 years. Yeah, it's really interesting. There's a lot of institutional problems to solve there when it comes to business financing and infrastructure and expertise. Like after building GoFast into what it is now, I'm like, man, it would be so cool if there were more resources to help other people do this. Because sometimes it does feel like self-flagellation.
It's a fact. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
I mean, just us moving into a new building, industrial leases, industrial contractors, TIs, build outs. It's like I've never done any of this before,
and it's all on you. You're personally guaranteeing
Thank
everything.
God for ChatGPT.
Facts. Big facts. Big facts.
So, what are the other brands in the U.S. right now that are inspiring you guys?
I mean, go fast for us.
Yeah.
I've followed Graeme since I met him, and
Okay, Graeme, you can't say Truckhouse.
no,
Matt.
no. Honestly, though, Graeme's super inspirational. I mean, obviously,
Yeah, I agree.
You've heard him on this podcast. He's so well spoken. This isn't his first time thinking about any of these questions. He says he thinks about this stuff all day, every day. And he's inspired me just from the first time I met him about how important, being vertically integrated and doing everything you can in the United States. And we're still trying to catch up with him.
Yeah, I mean, I think like one of the people I look up to the most is Dave at AAV. I think we both do.
Yeah.
Like Dave has just done such an amazing job of building something worth emulating, and building a product that's pretty much like uncompromised.
I think people like don't understand how good AEV stuff is.
No,
Like
because
Dave,
he's an engineer.
Dave was just in the realm where we were talking about that, and it's like there's so much. It's like I have spent so much time with Dave talking specifically about this stuff, trying to absorb, trying to learn. It's so complicated. I mean, it's things like if you don't know what boron steel is and you don't know the significance of it and you don't know what it does, why it's important, like there's fundamentals that are missing from like the automotive enthusiast that is buying this, because it's like one level past anything that they can really figure out.
Yeah, and it's like, should I buy an AEV part or this other part? And if the answer is, if there's ever an opportunity to buy AEV or the other, the answer is always AEV.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even close.
Well, and I think it goes back to what we were originally talking about. It's Dave is a user.
Yep.
I've spent so many days out on the trail with Dave, and he's constantly, how do I make this better? He's always asking me about my truck.
Absolutely.
How do you like it? How's this? How many miles? How's it feel? Blah 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 blah. And that's part of it. You guys, all three of you, you're users. You use the product. It's not just a spreadsheet going, oh yeah, how much money is this going to make me?
Yeah. I also, shout out to Earth Roamer. I wouldn't be here without them.
Yeah.
They
Especially Tyler Tatro.
Yeah, Ty. I
mean,
look up to Redtail too. Redtail.
Yeah, I mean,
Ty is an incredible designer and human being. But shout out to them, kind of forging the path for these big expedition vehicles being built in the United States. So can't go without mentioning that.
Totally.
I know you looked up to him when you with
Oh, yeah.
Continental. I mean, we're in the.
Oh,
That was always the
100%.
goal for me. We're sitting in my goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your new goal?
Truckhouse.
Learjet.
Yeah.
Dude, like a plane
Airbus.
would be really cool, but I'm not in that space. The cool thing with this podcast, you're talking about the importance of building a team, and you build the team, and the team is doing these things that's amazing. I didn't have to talk much in this podcast. We're really good.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
Super good.
this is great.
Yeah. I learned quite a bit. I mean, I've never really chatted with Graeme about, manufacturing, but I've always heard that was your flag to plant, was American manufacturing. And it's great to hear your perspective.
Yeah, and I don't want to take all the credit for it because my former business partner Wiley really instilled a lot of those values in me. But it's been really cool to learn about it because I have an engineering degree, but I'm mostly a brand and marketing guy, and I would never.
Legit marketing guy, dude.
Legit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Legit.
And
the We Hear You campaign, dude.
So good.
A 12 out of 10, dude. Yeah,
But-
genius. He's a genius.
But without Wiley, I don't think I ever would have had this mindset and learned about why it was so important. So he's no longer with GoFast, but he's still in my heart.
He's a good guy, Wiley.
good guy.
Genius.
Yep.
Another genius.
Well, I think it's just important to be considerate with your purchases, right? Because it
Yep.
really does affect, a lot more than you think, right? We've talked about so many different concepts here. We've talked about, making the trades cool, right? But that's how you do this, right? There's so much going on here. So I just want to thank you
Yeah.
guys for being on. Like
Real
I'm in
quick.
I'm in this quiet, contemplative mode because I'm like, man, I learned a lot.
But if I could add something, because it's yes, I agree that I'm gonna keep putting the ownership back on the businesses, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we only exist to serve our customer base. We exist to do nothing else. We deserve nothing. So the only thing that I think I would challenge customers to do is ask questions and be curious. Because if you're oh, that product's expensive, or that even though that might be the thought leader, I still want to go buy the Harbor Freight version, right? Thinking
Yeah.
of brands like OVS. Go to the brand that they copied and ask them why. Or go to the brand that does something different than the way that you think you'd do it and ask them why they do that. And if they have a good reason for it, it might be an interesting conversation for you. If they don't, then they might not be passionate about the category. But I think that consumers should really take a position of curiosity instead of dismissing something before having that conversation.
Smart.
Yeah.
No.
And for me, it's, everyone should be thinking about the engineering behind the products, especially in this space.
Yep.
There's a lot of people who have missed the physics lessons that the whole world's trying to teach you. So really, I know when Dave was on an early Overland Journal podcast, I think maybe Scott asked him, who else makes good products in the space? And Dave said, anyone that does tooling, because they've put enough thought in to invest in tooling to either stamp, infuse, pre-preg, build parts. So it's don't get overwhelmed by the spec sheet and dive one step deeper into what value does this provide me, And a lot of that value is going to be realized through the engineering that it took to build that product. The products that are going to provide you less value aren't as well engineered.
And that's a phenomenal answer. Like
Yeah.
the investing in tooling, because it's like, hey, I didn't just go to McMaster Car and
Yeah.
build this 80/20 product
Yeah.
out of thin air, right? It's like
And-
real.
And I think it even goes down to the smaller things. Like I just recently learned Brian from Goose Gear, he has all of his screws made
Oh yeah.
because he couldn't he tried McMaster Car.
Yep.
But they didn't work because they'd catch on the slide. So he had to have them specifically made. And that's a huge deal. And you know, that's another great American manufacturer.
And that's so
you
cool
know,
because
Goose
like
Gear.
another perfect example of someone that absolutely uses the product.
Yeah,
Right.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Awesome.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Learned a lot. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, geez, I'm a little quiet right now,
Yeah.
man. Genuinely, thanks for that. I learned some stuff, and I think the best podcasts that we end up doing are the ones where everybody learns something, including the host. So thank you for listening to the Overland Journal podcast. We'll see you next time.
Adios.